Ladies and gentlemen, yet to another episode of Firestarter. Today we are here with a very interesting gentleman. Started one of the first and topmost supply chain companies of Pakistan, e2e as they put it. We'll ask the gentleman himself what does that actually mean. But let me first take you to our guest, Abid. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ijlal, for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving us your precious time. Tell us who Abid Bhatt is before he became the CEO and the founder of e2e.
Well, just like everybody else, I mean, I was born and brought up in Karachi. Did all my primary school from here. I moved. My father was transferred abroad, so I did my high school from Singapore.
So you're not by family an entrepreneur.
No,
you're not a businessman.
No. My father worked for PI for 30 years, and he retired just very recently. So no, I'm the first and for the time being only entrepreneur in my family. Hopefully, my kids are going to be entrepreneurs also, inshallah. But until then, it's just me. And then I came back to do my undergrad from Lahore, LUMS. And after that, I got into this shipping and logistics industry by accident.
That's that.
That's how it started. The rest, as I say, is history.
But how did you stumble upon this? This was completely out of the box, if I may put it.
Yeah. See, so what was happening out of LUMS was that everybody wanted to be a banker.
Investment banker,
or go into an FMCG company. So either you were a finance person or a marketing person, or you were going into these fields. And I thought I was pretty good at finance, but when I got my first job, which was in a brokerage house, I realized that
this is not your cup of tea.
I'm not very good at it.
Okay.
I liked it, I enjoyed it, but the people around me were much better. And I just felt that I wouldn't be able to compete with them. I would not excel.
Okay.
I'll be, just average. And
so you did a self-reality check on
very
it?
Quickly. It happened very quickly. Within the first 2-3 weeks, I realized this wasn't something that I was going to do well at. I was going to be good at. So an opportunity came of a shipping line who said, look, we'll teach you a totally new field, shipping. I said, that's exciting. So everybody will start off at the same place. We'll teach you a totally new field, shipping, and we'll train you, and we'll send you abroad to train you. You can come back and you'll be part of this class of 200 people that we're hiring from all over the world, and all this is happening. And 2 years from now, we'll expatriate you. And since I lived abroad just before LUMS, and I always felt that wanted to do it again. And I also realized that earning in dollars versus earning in rupees, gives you a jump early on in your life.
The typical mindset.
And expatriation is very, very different from like going and getting a job somewhere. Expatriation,
exactly.
you get those extra benefits.
Dignity and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, they'll pay for your house.
It's already set and paid for.
Yeah, exactly. All you have to do is turn up to work, and
that's it.
That's it. You don't have to do a lot. So it was a great opportunity. I took that up, and I worked in that company for 2 years in Pakistan. 3 years. They transferred me to Singapore. So where I'd grown up, they transferred me.
So you're right back at it.
Right back at home, and I worked there for 3 years. Then this company asked me to come back to Pakistan because that was the program that after first expatriation you come back. And at that point I said to myself, this is not the right time for me. I just felt my instinct said this is not the right time for you to go back. And it was helped by the fact that the local Pakistani organization, the one I was working with, had some politics also. So the decision for me was very easy. I said, I quit, I'm not coming back. And I went on to do my MBA from a school in France called Syed. And
fabulous school.
Yeah, it's a very good school. So, and the best thing about that school was it was a 1-year MBA. So I could be over with it in a year, and opportunity cost was low. And in INSEAD, I did a lot of entrepreneurial courses, and I got very interested in it. I always had a feeling that I wanted to do something where my upside was unlimited. So that's why I went into finance first, because finance, if you're trading, there is a potential that your upside is unlimited.
Something, and you can see it building up right there, right then. The figures are there, pop, and they go up.
So you just
get excited.
It's easy to scale up. If you buy one share, you can buy 1,000 or 100,000 shares. So the upside is slightly unlimited in finance also. And I felt that entrepreneurship would offer you that. So I always thought about it, but never actually thought really hard about it. And once so in Syed I did a lot of entrepreneurial courses. It has a reputation that 40% of all in Syed MBAs have their first business 5 years after graduating. So it was clearly the most entrepreneurial school around. And I didn't choose it because of that element. I chose it because of its international sort of element. But I didn't complain when all of this was happening, and I was soaking it all in. And as soon as I got my first job, so after INSEAD, which was in Paris, I started working on my business plan.
Lovely.
Yeah. So I worked for 2 years, full time, 2 years. But at night, in the evening, I would work on my
At the
business
back
plan.
end, you were working, you were making the business plans, the complete
Doing the
shebang
same
of
thing that I'd learned in my career so far, doing it myself. That was the business plan.
Wow. So now, after INSEAD, you are in Paris, as they put it, the most beautiful one of countries, and specifically the city. And you have this beautiful job.
It was a great job, actually.
And this is usually where people ask, पागल हो गए थे? क्यों छोड़ दी नौकरी? Risk क्यों ले रहे हो? क्या कर रहे हो? So you actually came back.
Especially what happened after the 6 months, I really did think that was a bad decision. And it's very difficult to sort of justify it with logic. All I can say is that, again, अंदर से कोई आवाज आ रही थी, and I had to listen to it. And I've always listened to it.
True calling.
It was from inside, and there was nothing. The events were happening, and I just couldn't. It was just falling into place. The path for me, my return was.
The puzzle was just completing itself.
I actually, my boss in France was also professor at this place called HEC, which is Paris. It's a big university, and I gave him my business plan, and I said,
Proofread it, go through
can you read it? And he saw it. He's like, what do you mean? Are you going? You're not going in. You just came. It's just been 1 year, 1.5 years. Don't go. And I said, you know what? If you read it and you tell me that I should not go back, I won't go back. So
makes sense.
And he helped me out a lot. He gave me a job when it was a tough job market, and I hadn't worked in Europe before. I didn't speak French when I started, so it was a very tough environment. And he gave me a job. So he stood up for me. So I gave him that much that if you tell me to stop, I'll stay. And he went through the business plan. It took him 3 or 4 days. He came back, after a weekend. He said, you should go. This is a great idea. You should do it. And the idea was simple. There are 1,500 logistics companies in Pakistan. The only thing that I was saying was, what should I do differently is that I will have a one-stop shop. So one company that does everything. How logical is that?
Makes perfect sense.
Every industry does that, right?
Absolutely.
But logistics doesn't. Even to this day, I'm the only company that is doing it. Still. And that was it. That was our unique selling point. That's what e2e stands for, end-to-end.
So the e2e is no rocket science here. We are not talking about something related to IT. It's
End-to-end. Absolutely.
So now this is 1.5 years into this amazing job, and you're back in Pakistan.
So I quit after exactly 2 years. So I had to settle things, and quit. Quitting is not so easy. Also,
you have to get rid of things, and you have to pay off things.
So 2 years into after the job, exactly 2 years of the day I started, was my last day. Also, I came back, and during this transition period, I had met a big shipping tycoon, and he said, I want to start something like what you're saying, and I'll invest with you. So we went into this investment together, and it was really a big boost for me because I had no contacts in Pakistan. I didn't know anybody, and I'd met this person through a family friend, and I thought, what, that's brilliant because now I have a base. So this was May 8th or something. I started in 2005. January 12th, no, not 12th. January 18th or 19th. So like 12th is an important day. So a week after that, he fired me. So 7 months into my business venture, I get fired from the CEO spot. I only have 40% of the share, so he can fire me. I can keep my share, but he can fire me. So he fired me, and he said, "You're not getting your money back. I can get my money back." And it was my life savings. Remember, I'd worked abroad. My wife was an investment banker. We'd saved some money, and in Singapore, in France, and all of it we'd put into this business, literally all of it, and I was walking out with nothing. So that was an exciting time, an interesting time, if not an exciting time. And luckily at that time, as I was exiting the office, I called up a friend. I said, "This is what's happening. I'm actually considering going back because my French employer had offered me that you want to go back to Asia, we'll give you the country manager job in Indonesia." And they had a big setup in Indonesia, 200 people or so. But why don't you go lead the organization there? You want to go back to Asia? We'll send you back to Asia. I said, no, I don't want to go back to Asia. I want to go back to Pakistan. And I'll consider doing something with you in Pakistan. But they said, we're French. And they didn't want to invest in Pakistan at the time because the French engineers and all that and fair enough, they were still, hungover from that incident. So again, I met this friend and he said to me, why don't you come over? So as I was exiting the building with this, after being fired, he said, come over. So I went to his office. He said, look, you should not go back to wherever. Stay here.
Let's hold this amazing conversation we are having right now. We'll take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back, so stay glued. And we're back. We were at this amazing turn where Abid was telling us something really interesting. He called a friend. Please continue.
Yeah, so again, recap, lost my life savings, been fired from my own company, and only 6-7 months in Pakistan. I call a friend up as I'm exiting the building. Right after I've called my wife up, call a friend up. He said, come over to my office right now. And I went to his office and I said, I'm going back. And he was in the same industry as me. He said, don't go back. Give it another year. I said, I don't have any money left. He's like, how much do you have in your bank account right now? I said, I have $1 million left in my bank account, and that's it. That's all I have left. He said, I'll put in $1 million. Let's start with $2 million. This other company had started with 15 million. This is the company before that, right? In which I invested 40%. He wanted us to start with 2 million. I said, fine. You know what? A year. Let's give it a shot. I can't just let this guy, this other big tycoon, beat me, and I can't just go back, with my tail between my legs. I can't do that. So, you've given me exactly what I needed. So, the next day, I got a ready-made office. I started working the next day. My clients did not have a day's break. I called up all my clients. I emailed all of them. I told them, look, I've changed, but the company's, but I'm still here. The company's name remains the same. Because I kept the name e2e, I had proof of that. He let me take the name. He kept the company, but he let me take the name. And I said, the name is the same. I'm the same person. I've picked up the best team out of that group, and I'm still running your business is safe. So I tried to have no break as far as the customer was concerned. Absolutely. My number changed, of course, because that was his corporate number and everything. I said my numbers changed, my email addresses changed, but it's a very similar email address. The company's name is the same. We're there to do the same thing. But of course, it was a much lower operation. That operation had started with 3 offices and something like 40 people. This we're starting with 4 people and 1 office just down the road in Zamzama. And that's how we started. And after that, things just fell into place. People gave us business. People helped us out. Again, friends stepped up and helped me out. And now, alhamdulillah, we have 800 people. We have offices in Afghanistan and Bangladesh. We've acquired a company recently also. We're going to Sri Lanka. We're going into UAE. We're going to be going into India through the UAE company. So there's a lot of things that we want to be a regionally the biggest, the strongest, the best service logistics company.
And sophisticated, not to mention.
Yeah. One-stop shop, and that's the solution. And you know what? This whole trade is going to open with India, and when the Afghan Transit Trade Agreement is signed also, so with Afghanistan and Central Asian countries, Pakistan is in the center of it all.
Absolutely.
And a company like ours is going to be, inshallah, positioned to take advantage of it when it happens.
And come to think of it, the only one with the niche that you have, and nobody else has dared to step in till now with the sort of figures you were talking about, 1,500 companies doing exactly the same thing, and you doing it simply differently with a one-stop shop idea, and that's exactly what the client needs.
That's exactly what the client, absolutely. And by the way, this is not a genius idea, because abroad, this is the norm.
Sense.
This is the norm. Every company does that. So, I mean, I wouldn't credit myself with coming up with something new. I just saw what was missing here. It's like people putting up cinemas. You know, it's a no-brainer. Cinemas are going to work, just like they work abroad. You know, they'll work here. So that's the thing.
We were discussing with another friend yesterday that when another interview that I took, the gentleman said, ask yourselves, why not? This idea, why wouldn't it work?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask.
And I gave the example that when telcos came into Pakistan and the first this number portability thing took place, it was the first complete implementation anywhere in the world. It was done in Pakistan.
Number portability, yeah.
And then this easy load, we take it so
Branchless
casually.
banking, yeah, it's
And
very
this
sophisticated.
easy load thing, when they started, they were really afraid, would this work? Would this sell? And that's the most effective way of getting a recharge done on your cell phones compared to the scratch cards and walk-in centers, the whole 9 yards. So it's a big shocker for all of them.
Yeah. This is the land of opportunity. Companies like Unilever and P&G, these guys have L'Oreal, they've doubled their sales over the last 4 or 5 years.
That's
FMC, because you know we have an indigenous market. We have 198 million people in this country, and the middle class, especially if you look at the sector that's not reported, what we call the undocumented economy, is at least 3 times the size of the
70% at least. That's why the branchless banking is coming in.
So that's where it comes in. That's why. So you don't see the numbers when you look at the GDP figures, but when you look at the business figures, they just don't tally. and this is the land of opportunity.
When you lost it all, and when you started your business, what was the reaction from the rest of your family? Was your wife supportive? I reckon she must be.
Yeah, so my wife has been, and my family, and my parents-in-law. So my parents-in-law, and my wife are the instrumental group in, you know, my group of people. They have been very, very supportive from day one. From 4 people to 800. One of the stories is this, that I needed about 20 million rupees to get into another segment of logistics, which what we call the last mile. So you'll see my trucks on the road everywhere in Pakistan, and that's what we call the last mile, where I take package level deliveries to the final customer, right? And I needed that money, and I didn't have it. So I went to a lot of people to sell a share in my company, and the offers I was getting, they were undervaluing me, and it just didn't feel right. You know, one of those things. I agreed on a price and walked away from it also. Like while signing, I said, you know what, I'm getting up and I'm leaving. And so I've done that also. In the end, I went to my dad and I said, look, I know you don't have any money, but we have this house that we all live in. You know, I need you to mortgage it because I need the money. And you know, he didn't even blink. And he said, ye hain kagzat, jaake mortgage karao and use it. And we paid back in 14 months. Mashallah. So I mean, it worked out, and if it hadn't, I'd be on the road, and you know, that'd be another story that you'd be reporting. But the idea is you have to take these risks sometimes. If you believe in yourself, you believe that, you know, in your team, in the opportunity.
Mashallah, you're so lucky that you're being not only supported by a wife, the whole family.
Yeah,
for that matter.
I've been very lucky that way.
Now, coming down where the company is right now, would it be something different that you would have done? Would there be anything different you would do?
So if you look at it, the e2e is the logistics company. Now this employs about 800 people, right? We're into different services of logistics. That is according to plan. I couldn't have dreamt about this amount of growth, but generally the plan is this. The things that are interesting to talk about that weren't in the plan, that have happened are, so 2 years into the company, I realized that HR is going to be my biggest sort of critical success factor. I needed the right people in my company, and I couldn't do everything. Very early on, you realize that,
yes.
Right? But good people didn't join this industry. Firstly, my company, because it was a very small company, nobody wanted to. Nobody said, okay, take that risk. Secondly, good people weren't even coming into the industry. Again, they were going into banking, they were going into
telcos.
Now telco had come up by that time also, as compared to when I graduated. But telcos were big, banking was big, FMCG again, marketing, advertising agencies. So this is where people were working, and media there had been a huge influx of good people in media also. So, but nobody was coming in logistics. So I went up to a few HR companies and I said, guys, we must put a program together. I need your help. We must get people together, and we must do it this way, do it that way, training, all that stuff. And I did it for 6-8 months with them. Tried to engage them for 6-8 months, and they just didn't step up. So in the end, we bought an HR company. We got into HR. We have now a pretty big HR company, which has like 5,000 people outsourced.
Let's hold this thought of HR company, and we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, after this quick break. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Before the break, we just got this revelation that there's another company that came into being because the human resource need was not being fulfilled. How interesting is that? Let's hear it from him.
Basically, an entrepreneur doesn't see a hurdle. You know that,
absolutely.
Right? And if he sees a hurdle, he sees it as an opportunity. I saw this hurdle when these guys weren't stepping up, so I saw that as an opportunity to do something myself. Absolutely. And that's how we got into it. Simple.
Every problem is an opportunity.
Every problem is an opportunity. And the opportunity and the problem that I was trying to address with the HR companies initially, that I then wanted to do with this Prime, which is our HR company, was that I wanted that to focus on the weakest link. A team is as strong as the weakest link. So, the CEO could be very educated and very, talented and, has all the trainings in the world. But if at the lower end, somebody drops the ball, literally, that could be much more costlier than, and the benefits of training this person are much higher than training, the top guys. So all the HR companies in Pakistan are focusing on top to middle level. And I thought that we should look at the low to the middle level for training and outsourcing purposes. And that's what the HR company was focused on. But now, of course, it's gone into recruitment also. So we're trying to have, so people come in, train, get some skills like you mentioned, grooming. They'll get, driving skills. They'll get a certification from us. We'll help them get a job.
Absolutely.
And we have customers. We have who are e2e's customers also, who are in some cases e2e's competitors also, and they
That's
have.
fine. It makes business sense.
Yeah. So this need is there, and that company is operated totally separately. There's a Chinese wall, of course, between this company and that.
Now, a little birdie told me that there's another company there as well. What does that company do, and how did that come into being?
So growing up, I'd done my undergrad in economics. I'd read these papers, how World Bank reports how agriculture, 40% of our agricultural produce was lost due to bad logistics. And if you do the numbers quickly, 200 billion economy, it's a 200 billion economy. Our agriculture represents 45% of our economy. Let's say 40% for easy numbers. That's 18 billion, and 40% of that, which is 30 billion, gets lost because of bad logistics. Our national debt is like something like 78 billion. So that gives you an idea that it'll take 3 years of fixing this and we won't have national debt anymore. Just to give you this, that how big a problem it is. I know my thought was that I would try and through e2e try and do something about it. And I went to farmers and I went to artis and I went to retailers. I just couldn't get them to pay the premium that's required for better logistics to kill the waste. They all accepted the waste was there, but they never wanted to pay the premium. And that kind of foresight, in business in Pakistan doesn't exist, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't exist to the farmers also. You'd be happy to know. So eventually I said, okay, if you guys don't want to try me, I'll do it myself. So I got a group of entrepreneurs together, a very good group of entrepreneurs, totally different business. A lot of them are in IT and stuff like that. And I said, guys, let's figure this out. Let's see if, entrepreneurial people get together, what solution we can come up with. And we've had 1.5 years of operation. I think we're doing well. And while the objective was to kill the waste, we've addressed that. But the main gains are from yield improvement. Again, you'd be shocked to hear that by doing simple things like watering on time and applying the right pesticide at the right time, simple things, how you can improve the yield.
And so many companies are working on it. So many NGOs are willing to support you on it. But for some odd reason, people just seem to ignore that fact. I know this very close gentleman of ours. He heard in Pakistan it's all bhedjal. कोई
Absolutely.
देखता है कि जी he is doing this X
Herd mentality.
business, तो जी इसमें तो बहुत पैसे हैं क्योंकि उसके पास तो बड़ी अच्छी गाड़ी है और वो तो बड़ा ज़बरदस्त पैसे बना रहा है. They don't actually know what the figures are, what the true numbers are involved there. So this gentleman heard कि जी dairy farming में बहुत पैसे हैं. He started up this whole shebang of an amazing dairy farm. Basic cost नहीं meet हो रही थी. You would be surprised.
They didn't do
he
the
is-
math beforehand.
They actually tried, but they could not justify the fact कि जी दूध में कितना पानी मिलेगा तो गवाले को कितना देंगे तो so it was a whole hodgepodge. Now he's super happy. He said, I don't really care कि वो क्या पैसे बनाता है, because he stumbled upon another thing. He's selling manure, and he's selling the manure on the basis this manure is produced absolutely organically. The grass that is fed to the is organic and has no pesticides, no nothing. So the manure is organic, and he's exporting manure.
Brilliant.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
This guy is literally making money off of,
Yeah.
Yeah. and that's how brilliant an idea needs to be.
Yeah.
Simple yet brilliant.
Exactly. It's simple things. You don't have to. I mean, a lot of people are doing complicated and sophisticated things and doing really well in them. But I always say that Pakistan is the land of opportunity. There's so many low-hanging fruits. Why do something difficult?
You don't
when
have
you
to
can
get
do
into rocket science
when
every
When
time.
you can do easy things.
Simple
Absolutely.
is better.
Yeah.
That's my motto. Your message to our young entrepreneurs out there.
Well, I mean, I'd like to say that if you're interested in, if you get bored easily, if you have problem with authority, if you don't like, answering to people, if you like to be rich, if you want to have, nice toys when you grow, older, don't do a job, do your own thing. And again, I've been quoted saying this quite a lot of times. पान की दुकान भी हो लेकिन अपनी हो. So, even at that small level, do your own business.
Where do you plan to take this company to?
I mean, of course, I've talked about my international aspirations. Definitely want to be a big regional player, and after that, sky's the limit. Nobody knows. I have a vision that I want a brand that Pakistanis can be proud of, and hopefully, I'll succeed in that.
Inshallah. Don't you think that there should be a forum out there for youngsters? If not by the government, we always expect the government to do something. How about entrepreneurs get together and they do something?
Well, there are a lot of forums. So there is the I mentioned to you offline. There's the All World Network. Now that's a very strong network in Pakistan, and it's regional also. So that people can get an international point of view. There's TIE, of course, you must have heard of them.
Yeah.
And there are many Open is there. So there are many such forums where budding entrepreneurs can come and attend these conferences and talk to entrepreneurs and get inspired. But at the same time, a lot of educational institutes like IBA, for example, is very aggressive in their pursuit for entrepreneurship education, and they have a very good program where it's a mix of you do a business and you study. A very good program like that. In fact, I'm one of the mentors in that, and it's working out phenomenally, and I wish somebody had given me that opportunity, then I wouldn't have to go through that grind that I did. And but the more we need a lot more than what's happening. But I think there's something to start off with. There's something that's there for people to latch on to. Entrepreneurs in general, though, don't need people or anything or help.
Mentors or
They
that matter.
figure stuff out themselves.
But it's hit and trial method.
Yeah.
Because no two businesses are the same.
But exactly. But still, I think for inspirational purposes, किसी को जगाने के लिए, yes, these forums would be very, very helpful.
I was at a restaurant the other day, and this boy walks up to me and he goes like, "So can I ask you something?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Are you the guy who does that show called Firestarter on TV?" I was a bit embarrassed. I said, "Yes, I am." "Sir, आप क्या करते हैं उसमें?" मैंने कहा, "बेटा, business है." "Sir, मैं भी ऐसे ही करना चाहता हूँ."
Good, you inspired a guy. There you go.
But I really want that people who do not have the reach to these forums, to these business schools, we should get out and do something for them. How would you suggest we do that?
I mean,
Because such brilliant ideas which come from you, I reckon we can actually do something.
I mean, we have started an entrepreneurial sort of initiative in our own company. So we have said that we have a certain amount of trucks. So, for example, we have 200 trucks, and we want to go to 2,000. And I know that my balance sheet can't afford another 1,800 trucks. Each cost like 10 million. But I've gone to a bank and I've said, guys, if I get you someone who I say this guy has business for the next 5 years, will you lend him money to buy a truck? I said, yeah. Then I went to a vocational institute. I said, guys, if I get your top 10 people,
drivers,
business, a truck that he'll own after 5 years, a loan so he could buy that truck, and business through us, his truck must be branded. Guaranteed contract.
For 5
Would
years.
your guys be interested? They all jumped. He said, yeah, our opportunity is to work as drivers or to be owners of trucks. So at that level, e2e started this initiative. And I think I've seen a lot of companies do that. A lot of companies do, invest in, active incubators, and that's our bit. That's what we can do. But at the mass scale, it has to come from the education institutes. It has to come from that angle. That look at the places.
Effort.
Yeah, look at other places, because they have the most attention. Most amount of kids are going through primary school, right? So you will get most amount of kids at that level. So at that level, the education system has to change. In Singapore, I'll give you an example of Singapore. Singapore had a society that wasn't very entrepreneurial. Still, it's not very creative and entrepreneurial. But they've attempted to change their entire, and they figured out that's because it's a very, very regimented schooling system. So
the English system is still there. It's just
so they've decided to go back and redesign the schooling system, which, by the way, is the basis of their greatness today. But they've decided to redesign it anyway to get some more creativity out of it. So if a country like that, which is already a schooling system is already a success, can do that, in a country like ours where it's questionable, then it should definitely be a no-brainer for us to do. So that's one thing I guess we can do at mass scale.
Thank you so much. I'm sure our audience must be wowed by your presence on our show. We would love to have you again.
Thank you,
It was
Dr.
just
Ijlal.
amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Ijlal. Thank you,
sir. You've heard it from the man himself. Nothing is big or small. And we can make initiatives out there to help others and grow along with them. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you next week. Allah Hafiz.